is from a
This
federal
call is
prison.
being
You
recorded.
will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Joe.
Joe.
This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. To accept this call, press 5. To block this call and all future calls, press. You may begin speaking now.
Ryan.
Joe, how are you?
Good. How are you doing this morning?
Doing well. Thanks for taking the time, man. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
man, I appreciate you giving me a platform. Hey, the
Absolutely.
prison rules are you can record, you can put me on live, you can put me on speaker, just absolutely no three-way calls.
You got it, man. I actually listened to one of the interviews you did recently, so I got that down.
Okay.
How many interviews you done lately?
Shit, man, I do probably 5 a week. And
5 a
then
week.
I'm on the John Clay Wolf show, syndicated radio show every Saturday morning.
Wow. And how long have you been doing these interviews?
About 4 weeks now.
And did something change with the rules that they've allowed you to? Is that what
Well,
it was?
since I run for president, and I have the right to communicate with the media, but since I'm running for president legitimately, they're being pretty cool about it. As long as I don't talk about this prison,
Got
as
it.
long as I don't bring shit on this prison.
Right. All right. Well, I got like 12, 13, 14 minutes with you, and
You
I'm going to
good?
we're going to try to cover a lot of ground here.
Okay.
Let me first start by introducing myself, telling you a 2-second version of what I'm doing, and then I'm going to try to recap your story as best I can, and I'm going to ask you to kind of correct me where I just want the audience to get more familiar with you if they haven't seen Tiger King. And then we can talk about, your platform and your case if you want.
Okay.
And
Hell,
I
I
got
haven't seen Tiger King.
yeah. So you became a household name, man, during the pandemic, didn't you?
I guess.
Yeah. So my name's Brian Escow, Joe. I'm 33 years old. I got this podcast is called Searching for Political Identity, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Been a construction manager for 10 years. Went to law school a couple of years ago. Graduated last year. Was going at night while I worked my construction job because I got a little bored. And with so much crazy stuff going on in the country, with Trump and the whole nine.
It is
Um,
crazy, isn't it?
yeah, I just said I gotta tap into that person I was in high school, always liking to have deep conversations with people about politics and religion, whatever. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
It's a genuine effort so I'm talking to people like yourself, politicians, and the whole nine. So in your situation, you are the man from Tiger King. You say you've never seen it. Here's what I took away from it, having rewatched it the other day.
Okay.
You love being a star, man. You're a star at heart. There's no denying it. You when you were 14, you had a tough conversation with your dad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that really fucked you up, didn't it?
I did.
Yeah. So you knew you were gay and you told him so. It was kind of courageous, wasn't it?
Well, believe it or not, the real story is when I was a police chief, is when my dad found out I was gay, and my oldest brother outed me, and that's when he shook my hand in front of my mom and made me promise never to come to his funeral, and that's when I drove my police car into a bridge.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Now, how many brothers do you have? Because one of your brothers sadly died.
I had two. GW died, and then I have my oldest one, which actually helped Carolyn Howard do this to me, that lives in South Texas.
Why so much animosity?
Well, it's all over greed. I mean, they hated my mom so bad, except GW. My living brothers and sisters hate my mom so bad over money that they don't even call her mom; they call her Shirley. Because the woman was entitled to do what she wanted with her own money, but they thought that everything should be inherited to them. And if you listen to the recording of my brother and my attorney that's on, the website and on John Phillips's YouTube, you can hear it. It's all about money and mineral rights, and they were so jealous of that zoo because they weren't going to get their share of that zoo.
Right. So, just to move things along for time. So you end up in Oklahoma, starting a zoo. And was it really your brother's dream?
Well, me and my brother owned a pet store, an exotic pet store in Arlington for 16 years,
Hmm.
and that's when he got killed. Was south of Dallas, moving my sister, and I spent almost every day with my brother, and my other brothers and sisters didn't. And my brother that died, GW, all he ever talked about was going to Africa and living in the bush with the people with the bones in their nose.
Mm-hmm.
He
What,
was all
and
about the jungle,
Into the Wild.
into the wild. Yep. And that's what gave me the idea after he got killed to sell the pet store, and me and my mom and dad opened up the. It started out as a sanctuary,
Mm.
in his memory, and it turned into one of the world's largest privately owned zoos.
Now, in that time, that's when you found reality TV and you got a taste of the internet, stardom, right? And you loved it.
Well, you know what? I was always in the news and on the news doing charity work and everything else when I had the pet store. And then I was on the news because I was the youngest police chief in the state of Texas history. So I've always
Mm.
been in the public eye. But
Mm.
yeah, I'm kind of like the first one that ever created a podcast because
Right.
I was one of the first people that ever did a live internet show,
Right.
and it brought business to the zoo, and it brought awareness to rescuing tigers.
Hmm.
And and then it got crazy. The crazier we got, the more people supported and watched us. It's
Right.
kind of like the movie Jackass. People watch it
Mm.
because it's stupid.
Right. What was that other one he did? Bad Grandpa. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
So, did it all go wrong at some point, or is that not even the case? Were mistakes made? How did it get out of hand, in your
Well,
opinion?
it never got out of hand. Okay,
Hmm.
it was all for TV and show. What got out of hand was I let the wrong people in my circle, like Jeff Lowe and James,
Right.
This call is from a federal prison.
pretending to be investors, and everybody wanted to be part of the GW Animal Park because it was huge and it was beautiful and it was famous. And I let some con artists in my door, and they ended up taking over.
So, is it straight up that they set you up? Is it that simple?
It is that simple. If you watch the videos of Alan Glover, the hitman,
Yeah.
on YouTube, he admits that he lied to the grand jury and to the jury, and then I shocked me. He admitted to that the original plot was to kill me to start with. And with the evidence that we have now and the confessions we have now, I still don't understand why the hell I'm here.
Well, is it? And I'm genuinely asking: Did they kind of abandon the murder for hire charge and just stick you on all these animal violations, or
Well,
what happened?
the evidence that we have with the attorneys, the federal agents, text message, and their witnesses, they knew that they weren't going to be able to get the murder for hire to stick without the animal charges.
Right.
Parading those 5 dead tigers' heads around in front of the jury and making me seem like this horrible murderer
Right.
is what convicted me. And
Right.
uh,
And do you have any regrets about anything in the time that you operated that zoo?
no, not at all. Not at all.
Really? Good.
I had to
Good for you.
make I had to make some bad decisions, some hard decisions. Animals have to be put to sleep just like people got to die.
Right.
But people don't understand that. And you
Hmm.
have a horse that comes in with a broken leg, and the vet brings it in to be shot so it can be fed out instead of being euthanized with an injection, and then you can't use the meat. It's the circle of life. I did that every day of my life.
Right.
Do I have any regrets? Absolutely not. I can admit I shot 5 tigers to put them to sleep. It was a hell of a lot more humane than letting them suffer, or like Jeff did. They ended up raiding his zoo, and his animals were starving and abused.
Mm.
I put them to sleep because it was the right thing to do. And when you tranquilize a tiger, it takes 45 minutes, and they seize and they convulse and they throw up.
Right.
It would have been 45 minutes of hell when it was half of a second, a split
Right.
second,
Right.
and it was over.
Right. So, all right, good for you. Good Good for you. So let's take a couple minutes. Let's talk about your presidential platform, and then I got a couple quick hits that I want to get in with you. But before we talk about your presidential platform, let me ask you: do you miss your old crew? Do you feel bad about the bonds that kind of have dissipated there, or not really?
I woke up every morning hating my life because I had to employ 23 people to keep that zoo operating, and they were drunk. You can look at the YouTube videos. Nothing was edited. Nothing was raw. Everything's raw. They're drunk, on drugs, constantly bailing them out of jail. They didn't give a shit. Me and my mom and my dad gave them a life, and they still didn't appreciate it.
So you're not losing sleep over those relationships?
Absolutely not. Every minute I was awake at that zoo, it was stress trying to keep them alive. And you can see a split second, Saf lost an arm.
And you were so sweet, Joe, when that happened. You were really tender.
Dude, it happens that fast, and people think, Joe was an asshole. Joe was hard on us.
It was so funny, and then they cut the next scene, and you smoke a cigarette, and you're like, I am never going to recover financially.
No, because
it was hilarious.
But the truth was the USDA could have took my license. I could have been sued. It could have ruined me.
But Saf was loyal to you, for sure.
She was loyal to me.
Do you miss her?
This call is from a federal prison.
But if I wouldn't have been there, she'd have died. Because as you see on the video, the real video that's on my website, because I filmed the whole damn thing, the real video, that staff would have done nothing to help her. They left her laying in a puddle of water, just like they left Travis sitting in a chair bleeding to death and gasping for air while they smoked a cigarette waiting for the cops to get there. Yeah, I have nothing but animosity toward these people. Nothing. I gave them a chance to have a life, and they fucked me over.
Joe, let's do this because I want to make sure I get some of these quick hits in, and then we'll end with 90 seconds to your presidential platform. And I'm sorry that the time's going so quickly.
You good?
What do you think about COVID and the lockdowns and the vaccines? Was it an overreaction? Was it just a weird thing that was real?
I think it was a big overreaction. And do I think that this was a population control issue? Absolutely.
Got it.
You have all these Trumpers out there that would die for that man, and you got to remember two really hard things. He's the one that rushed this vaccine through to where now people are getting sick on a vaccine. He's the one that initiated the initial lockdowns, and his administration, his federally appointed judges and federally appointed prosecutors are the ones who did this to me.
Fair enough. Joe, I'm going to keep it moving. Let me say this. You have a good heart. I think you have a good heart, and you want to be of service. And I think people should look into you and see, I think you're a good man. What do you think about abortion?
Abortion, I believe that you have the right to do what you want with your own body. Okay, do I agree with abortions? I think everybody ought to be spayed and neutered after the first abortion, because if you're going to be that sloppy to be lazy to strap one on, you should have your tubes tied after your first abortion. But it's your right. It's between you and God. Okay, it's not my right. It's just like I have a right to carry a gun, whether you think I should or not.
Right. What about gun control? What about gun control in the light of these mass shootings and mental health?
I don't think anybody under 21 should be having an AR. I just don't. Under 21? Hell, you're still trying to figure out whether you like your. You still can't figure out if you like your penis or not. Why the hell?
I was going to ask you. Do you still have your Prince Albert?
I do.
That's hilarious.
Hey. Why should you carry an AR if you can't figure out if you're a boy or a girl yet?
That's solid. So what do you think about Biden?
Damn, man.
I know you want him to pardon you, obviously.
I think it would be the right thing for the man to do. Do I agree with everything Biden's doing? Absolutely not. Do I think he'll live to make 6 more years? Absolutely not. He's going downhill fast. You can see that in his face. Okay, but would that help the Democrats? If it would have helped Trump, if he'd have pardoned me, he wouldn't have been under investigation for 11,000 votes in Georgia if he would have pardoned me.
So I don't know how much time we have left. They're probably going to just
they're going to hang up in about 30 seconds.
So what would you do if you were president of the United States? What's your main platform plank?
We got to give this country back to the people. We got to start listening to the people instead of the paid politicians. There's two justice systems in this world: the rich and the poor. There's two political systems in this world, in this country: the rich and the poor. And it's time the poor start taking back over this country.
Are you a Democrat or Republican?
I am nothing. I'm running.